A global conflict, a struggle for power, and a fight for survival. World War II was a war like no other. It was a time of monumental change, a time of heroes and villains, of destruction and rebirth. It was a war that would forever change the course of history. In the late 1930s, a dark cloud began to loom over Europe. In Germany, Adolf Hitler had risen to power and was rapidly expanding the Nazi regime. The Sudetenland, Austria, and then the rest of Czechoslovakia all fell under the swastika banner. In the Pacific, Japan was on the move, seizing Manchuria and waging war against China. The world held its breath in September 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. France and Britain were drawn into the fray, marking the beginning of the Second World War. The world was plunged into darkness as the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan began their campaign of aggression. Soon, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and France fell under the iron heel of the Nazis. Britain stood alone against the onslaught, defiant under the leadership of Winston Churchill. Across the Atlantic, the United States remained neutral but was slowly drawn in by the Lend-Lease Act, aiding the Allies with weapons and supplies. In 1941, the war took a dramatic turn. Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. The Eastern Front opened, resulting in some of the largest and deadliest battles in history. Later that year, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, pulling the United States into the war. The tide began to turn in 1942. The Battle of Midway saw a decisive victory for the Allies in the Pacific. In North Africa, the Axis powers were defeated at the Battle of El Alamein. The following year, Italy surrendered, and the Allies began to push back against the Nazis in Europe. In 1944, the Allies launched Operation Overlord, storming the beaches of Normandy. This marked the beginning of the end for the Nazis. By May of the following year, Germany had surrendered. The war in Europe was over. However, the Pacific War raged on. It wasn't until the dropping of 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 that Japan finally surrendered, marking the end of World War II. The war was a cataclysmic event, reshaping the world in its aftermath. It led to the rise of superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, and the onset of the Cold War. The creation of the United Nations aimed to prevent such a devastating war from happening again. In summary, World War II was a global conflict that began with the rise of the Axis powers in Europe and the Pacific. Key events included the invasion of Poland, the opening of the Eastern Front, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the decisive victories at Midway and El Alamein. The war concluded with the surrender of Germany, the dropping of atomic bombs on Japan, and the subsequent surrender of Japan. The aftermath of the war saw the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, and the establishment of the United Nations. World War II was indeed a war that forever changed the course of history.
If you like our video, do click on subscribe button and share the video.